continuing our talk about the guidance of the Quran in rejecting wickedness, attracting goodness, pushing against and exposing the innovation of the misguided in our time. This series of khutbah is to expose the innovation of the minority that they give Islam and make all the Muslims suffer because of incorrect understanding and representation of Islam. So it's very important for every one of us, inshallah, to open his heart and his ear and learn so you can actually talk to others correctly about what the Islamic guidance and what the Quranic guidance is. And today, inshallah, we talk about the second priority among the priorities of the divine guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to ensure stability, security, and peace and harmony in the whole world, which is to preserve human life, to preserve the soul of man, any man. And we already talked about the preservation of faith, all the divine guidance, protecting all the divine and guidance and place of holy worship, any faith. So today, inshallah, we'll talk about the second priority, which is to ensure the preservation of human life. The Quranic guidance clearly and unmistakably point out to the most just avenues to protect its sanctuary, laws to shield it, and boundaries to defend it from any harm, from any mischief. The first of these boundaries is what the divine laws declared of the sanctuary of the human soul, the spirit, what keeps you alive and breathing. Sanctuary of the soul, as the divine laws define it, is to protect, to shield, and to preserve it from any harm or demise inflicted by a man on his own soul or inflicted by other in his own soul. The punishment to the aggressor who takes life can be either by retribution against his own soul, offer of a blood money, or offer of material collateral. For he who transgresses against his own soul, killing self, or he who escaped the earthly punishment, taking a life of another, will face the punishment in the hereafter. It's a very serious matter, my dear brothers and sisters. Not just making a decision to take your own soul, but more taking a soul of another person. Dear brothers and sisters, the soul which the divine guidance declared its sanctuary are souls of Muslims, everyone who declared La ilaha illallah, Muhammadun Rasulullah, and the soul of the Christian and the Jews living in Muslim countries, and moreover, any soul protected with the covenant of peace and harmony and safety. A covenant of peace of a non-Muslim living in the land of Muslims, or a Muslim living in the land of non-Muslim, even if they were at war. The preservation of the soul and the sanctuary of the soul is protected by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Preservation of human soul, the divine law closed and sealed all avenue to demise it, hurt it, or violate it. Forbidding a man from taking his own soul is the first command to prohibit such a major violation by the divine guidance, to magnify the crime and to heighten the value of the soul in the eyes of people. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked first about preserving your own soul as part of preserving others' soul and others' spirits. The Quran made unlawful for a man to kill himself by any means, as a life is a gift and a bounty from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and a gift and a bounty by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cannot be violated by anyone. Violated not by anyone. A gift of life that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordained cannot be violated by anyone. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in a clear verse in Surah An-Nisa, verse 29 and 30, and kill not yourselves, and kill not yourselves, for verily Allah has been to you most merciful. If anyone does it in bitterness or injustice, we shall cast him into the hellfire, and that is very easy for Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after He command for you to preserve your soul and the soul, for your own soul, He mentioned how merciful Allah is. He mentioned His own mercy. He who violates his own soul by killing it will face the punishment of this crime in this life and in the hereafter. In this life, the leader of the Muslim or his representative would not pray or attend his funeral, but only the common and the imams of the masajid would attend his funeral. All to deprive him the honor and to magnify the insult of his deed, so people would not attempt such a crime and such a transgression. Muslim and An-Nasa'i narrated on the authority of Jabir ibn Samurah, may God be pleased with him, that a man killed himself with a sharp end of an arrow. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, when he heard about it, he said, regarding myself, I will not pray on him. Imam al-Nawawi elaborated, saying, the majority of the scholars agreed that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, in person, did not pray on this man. To distance people from such an act, to degrade such an act, to magnify such an act, and left the companion to do the prayer on that deceased person. In the hereafter, he who would violate his own soul by killing it will face the severe promise that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala pledged for him, the hellfire, as we just recited in the verse in Surah An-Nisa, verse 29 and 30. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, as it was narrated in Sahih, in both Sahih on the authority of Abu Hurairah, that he said, whoever kills himself with a piece of metal, a knife, any sharp object, his piece of metal will be in his hand, stabbing himself in his stomach, in the hellfire, residing in it for eternity. And whoever consumes poison, killing himself, will consume the same poison in the hellfire, residing in it for eternity. And whoever throw himself off a high mountain from a high place, killing himself, will be constantly falling, in the hellfire, residing in it for eternity. It is obvious the punishment in the hellfire will be the same in kind to the method used to commit such a crime against self. And eternity in the hellfire reserved for who done it, believing it is lawful, justifying in his mind that taking his own life is lawful and it's okay. It is narrated in Sahih al-Bukhari and the Authority of Abu Hurairah, may God be pleased with him, that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, he who suffocates himself will be suffocating himself in the hellfire. The punishment will be continuous when he actually ends up in the hellfire. And whoever who stabs himself will be stabbing himself also in the hellfire. It cannot be any clearer than that. My dear brothers and sisters, the crime of killing one's soul and its punishment established in all the divine guidance. It was narrated on both Sahih, on the authority of Jundub ibn Abdullah al-Bajli, that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, talking to his companion, it happened before you, before Islam, that a man injured and was frightened, scared and depressed, that he took a knife and cut his own hand, spilling his blood until he died. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about him, as the Prophet tell us, my servant hurried up his soul to me, so I barred him from heaven. And when you are barred from heaven, there is no other outcome except the hellfire. Killing one's soul always has been the misguidance of the devil, making it easy, simple, and okay to justify. Imam al-Turbishtari said, as a man about to kill his own soul because of anger, stupidity, or stress, the devil justifies the action in his mind. The devil presents such a terrifying action as easier than killing someone else. You are just killing your own soul, and only hurting himself And if leaving no debt to anyone, Allah will forgive you. So it's kind of a personal matter. You're only hurting yourself. You are not in debt to anybody or anything. It is easy. That is the whisper of the devil. The Prophet Muhammad made it clear to anyone who is praying, anyone who is sane, that such an action, taking on soul, a charge, question in the day of judgment for all. They will face severe punishment like killing any other soul that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave sanctuary and gave refuge. My dear brothers and sisters, this is the ruling and the guidance of Islam regarding whoever kills his own soul without harming anybody else. All these promises of punishment and being in the hellfire for eternity for that who kills his own soul without hurting others. Now is the question, and open your heart and your mind. Now is the question, do you think that he who kills himself by explosive or demise his own soul, killing innocent, will be safe from the wrath and the anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Let me repeat that question, because this is the irony of all this series. So we all understand the misguidance of the small group who misrepresent Islam and give us all and give our religion a bad name. Do you think he who would kill himself by explosive or demise his own soul, killing innocent, would be safe from Allah's wrath and anger? There is no doubt all believers, Muslims and non-Muslims, consider him an immoral sinner which combines the crime of killing himself and killing soul that Allah protected and gave it its sanctuary. Again, we said earlier that life, human soul, is a gift of Allah, cannot be violated by anyone. There is no doubt the Quranic guidance point out to those who exploit themselves among the innocent, killing them with themselves, do not know anything about the basics of Islam or the religion of Islam, the true religion of Islam. The faith of Islam and Muslims are innocent from their action and deeds, and inshallah will be continuing the subject. And this matter, my dear brothers, this series which we are going through, this is the fourth khutbah, is on the net, on our net, and we've been asking everybody to share it with your friend. Spread the word, because if we don't talk about the correct Islam, nobody will. And there is calls now on the net to boycott our website as what we present of correct Islam as propaganda. You can't win. We have to do the work. That is why we are here in the United States, not just to migrate and make a living, to be a good example of the correct teaching of Islam. So again, go to iccpez.com, download it in Arabic and in English, share it with your friend, share it for anyone who is actually interested to know about the true guidance of Islam.